Apologies in advance if I sound a little bit off. Allergy season sucks. Anyways, so with Shadows of Doubt getting a pretty sizable update recently, I thought I'd give a worthwhile attempt at a challenge run that I've been putting off for more than a few months. Forgive me in advance, though, if the quality of the footage is not the best. My computer did not have a fun time trying to record it while having decent enough visual graphics. I'll try to mitigate it the best I can. Anyways, I am Generic Mystic, and I welcome you to today's challenge. Can you solve a case in Shadows of Doubt without committing any crimes? Alright, let me just skin that character. Okay. Upon loading in, two things are clear. We are homeless in an alley, and people aren't too willing to give us information. The streets of our city, subscribe to my channel please, aren't too kind to the beaten down people like me, so any chance to get our foot in the door for better prospects is few and far between. Our first goal while waiting for the main event is to get a fair amount of cash to afford any of the basic necessities that we will need, like food, water, and impact explosives. Places like diners and bars have job listings for us, which offer varying amounts of payment for us by doing equally various jobs available for us. For our first job, we take on the task of being a photographer. We ask for info while being incredibly bored, and while we could manually walk to where the briefcase is, I'd rather use the new autopath function so the game can move us there ourselves. It makes it nice in case you get lost and... Okay, so there's some quirks with it still, but as far as pathfinding in a procedurally generated city goes, it's pretty good. We get the briefcase, get the target, and learn that they are short and live on the 5th floor of a specific building. While no, it isn't the most helpful, as there are 8 potential targets it could be, it definitely narrows down our search by a significant margin. We pick up a camera from City Hall to complete the job, auto-travel to the building. And before we get there, a murder gets reported. To heck with the photos, we have a crime to solve! Without committing crimes, of course. Getting to the floor where the body was found, we see that the security door is blocking our way. In the meantime, asking around for any information is our best course of action. Unfortunately, we are given nothing to work off of, so it is back to waiting for the door to... Oh, hey! The first step in our investigation is to scan for fingerprints. Each person in the city has a unique fingerprint which they only have, so by documenting all the ones we find, we can deduce who lives in the apartment and who is not supposed to be there. We find fingerprints A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P? Q? Okay, the fingerprints is not going to help out much here. What about investigating the apartment? Well, stepping inside means that we are trespassing, which is almost definitely a crime given the enforcer that is strategically placing a bullet into my skull. While we are waiting for our safe to reload, I can bring our attention to a bit of a real-life visual representation of information using a corkboard I got a few years ago. Value. What are we putting on here? The full list of everything we are not allowed to do. Why am I using such a big space for it? Foreshadowing, of course. Back in the game world, we notice a suspicious individual approaching the crime scene. They don't willingly give us any information and quickly run off, but they do leave a normal size 7 shoe print. It is unlikely that we will find this person again, but we might as well note it down for documentation's sake. I ask the enforcers for information, but they won't cough up anything either. Well, I guess this isn't going to be easy for me. With all major cases, we grab a resolution form from the City Hall and get our 5 objectives. Find the culprit's full name, arrest them, find evidence that places them at the crime scene, find their address, and find the weapon that was used to carry out the murders. While out and about, we also grab a newspaper. These things will occasionally update to report on any murders that occur, but it seems that we don't have that information right now. Oh well, we'll check back later. Given that we have absolutely no information to go off of, we might as well go back to the photograph case. Going to the 5th floor, we do what any person would do in this situation. Knock on random doors and see who answers. The person who answers the first door is remarkably short, and while they don't give any information about their name, I feel no remorse for potentially failing this job, so I take a picture anyway. We are flagged for pursuit, but we can escape in the elevator no problem. Handing in the case and... hold on. So, from taking pictures of people, they get excessively hostile towards you. While I would brush it off as people not wanting their photos taken, the enforcer displaying lethal force in response to me adding them to the cringe compilation makes me feel like it is an illegal action. While we are here, we can also establish another illegal action: leaving your hospital bed while detained. This will instantly flag you as trespassing, so both are getting added to our growing list of things that we cannot do. Back to our photo situation. We obviously can't solve it, so I guess we will have to take a different job. We have a small task to find some lipstick, and, well, yes, we do it. The owner isn't home or something, so we can't get paid for that. As for actual jobs, the first diner has 2 destruction jobs, but unfortunately, property damage incurs fines, and thus is a crime. The next place has a public humiliation and an evidence collection job. Public humiliation involves throwing food at someone and potentially taking a photo, which I believe counts as assault, which is definitely a crime. Alright, hi, Mystic and Post here. So, I was going to put assault on the board, but I decided to go by a completely legal definition for what I would be, because, believe it or not, we're not going to actually put assault on the board. We are going to put battery. Hold on. Let me just... there. Yeah, okay. So, by a legal definition in terms of charges, assault would be the perceived threat of being attacked, while battery is actually being attacked. Obviously, I'm dumbing it down severely, but yeah, it's battery, not assault. Alright, that's it. The evidence collection has us breaking into somewhere and trespassing to steal something, especially since we cannot afford to pay our way in. All of these things are added to the board. The next place gives us a job for arresting an individual, but that requires handcuffs, amongst other things, but it's good to keep in mind, I guess. With nothing better to do, we might as well pursue one just to have easy cash lined up while waiting for the newspaper to update. We take the case, but all we are given is a fingerprint, a phone number, handwriting sample, and an age. This is very difficult to narrow down, but I have an idea. Using one of the last 10 credits we have, we phone the number and hear the person that answers it say, "Ahana speaking." This is important because asking their name yields a very hostile response. That single first name is all we need, though. Going to the city hall, we can go to a publicly accessible computer to gain access to the government database. The problem is that we don't know the password to get in. Good thing they just leave it pinned up on the wall in the same room. Typing in Ahana, we find 2 people with the same name, along with their fingerprints and addresses. While the fingerprints aren't matches, it means that one of their partner's fingerprints will match with our target. Going to the first residence, we find a match and see the person we are supposed to arrest watching television, but there's nothing we can do. Hitting someone to handcuff them is the same as assaulting them, regardless of a warrant or not, and as such, means we can't do anything unless they spontaneously pass out. So, Is there really no way to get money here? Back to our photo situation. What if there was a way to take a photo without them noticing us? I mean, if they don't notice us, surely it doesn't count as illegal. I mean, come on. We were standing right in front of them with the light of their apartment pouring out from the doorway and onto our totally not creepy floor. The law must dictate that you can't take photos in well-lit areas, I guess. Please just trust me on this to spare the pain of 20 lost and found jobs. We hand in the photo, get paid, and... yeah, I don't know what to do now. I guess we will just sit down in City Hall and wait for anything interesting to happen. After waiting a while, starting another job, and cracking open a newspaper, we see that it has finally been updated to show the story of the murder. This is a bit hard to see though, so let me just up the resolution for your viewing pleasure. From this report, we see that the victim was named Albert Mickens, age 44. Murder weapon, a rifle. The location of the murder is, well, already known to us. Finally, we know that the victim was a resident of the apartment rather than visiting, which, while not particularly useful for this case, could help out should you have a different set of circumstances. So, what can we glean from this? To be honest, not much. What we can figure out is that the murder is part of one of the new groups of killers that came with this update, which I have no idea how to solve. Whatever, I'll figure it out eventually. Very soon after, though, a second murder occurs, this time 2 floors above the first murder. We talk to one of the residents, but don't get any information, and peeking into the apartment itself, we see an enforcer inspecting an area next to the windows. Checking for fingerprints, we find no matches at all, which would indicate that the killer never entered the apartment. Curious. Additionally, checking the newspaper updates our second killing, giving our other victim a name. With that much information, we can look up the respective entries in the government database to find any potential common threads that link the two together. Looking at Albert's profile, and... I think that is a bug, which is annoying. Dahlia, on the other hand, does have information, but given that we are missing half of what we need, we are stumped once more. So, what do we do now if we don't know anything about our victims that would be useful to us? Well, what if we took a look the other way around and see what we know about the killer? We know that they killed 2 people in the same building, did not enter the apartment to do so, and that they used a rifle to carry out the crimes. That would imply that they did it at a distance, but we don't know where they did it from or who they are specifically targeting, so we can't link them to the victims. Sticking with the weapon of choice, though, the question is how they got it. In Shadows of Doubt, there is a black market trade system that has certain rooms and basement floors where people can purchase all kinds of illegal goods. Our best bet is to find an arms dealer and check their ledger, which to even gain access to, we need to know the password, which is scribbled up on walls like this here. Looking around for an excruciatingly long time, though, all I can find is a general black market goods store, but since no one is here, I can't exactly check the ledger. It is funny, though, watching all the people, including enforcers, trying to gain access, stand around, and ultimately give up and leave. With nothing else to really do, I guess we will pass time in the diner and... oh, are you kidding me? Well, another recent addition is that you will be flagged for trespassing if you stay in a restaurant area for too long without buying anything, so we are adding loitering to our corkboard. Well, anyways, it seems the only place we can pass time at this point is City Hall, so give me a moment while I wait for another person to kick the bucket. It seems that another person in the same apartment as the first murder died. Given that both people are dead, I don't think there's anyone I will be able to interrogate on the matter. About 27 minutes later, I get the 4th victim's address, this time being on the 4th floor of the same apartment building. The view inside doesn't give anything usable, but looking at the map and it becomes very clear. If the murderer is shooting at people without entering the apartment, then it is reasonable to assume that they are firing at them from across the street. And specifically, from room 402, it narrows down the building possibility to only Silva Towers. Which floor and which room, though, is still an enigma for me. Back to waiting, I guess. Maybe one of these times I will actually be able to see the body from the doorway. And here we go, 701 Bye-Bye Terrace. Maybe this will be the one? Nope. Back to the bench. Another murder on the 5th floor. This time, though, we can actually see the body. That's a massive net gain for us, if we could get a closer look, that is. Turning out the lights in the hallway doesn't help much, but what if we could get inside without breaking the law? And no, I don't mean paying my way in there, because I don't think anyone alive is still living in that residence. But what if I just crawl under the vent while standing on the radiator? Yeah, there we go. Now it gives me the prompt to enter, and if I enter from this area I am clearly not supposed to enter from, I am not flagged as trespassing in the ventilation. So, hey, going into ductwork is perfectly legal if you align the polarity of your atoms correctly to phase through the solid metal. Unfortunately, leaving the vent and going into the apartment does count as trespassing, so we won't be able to use that to assist with our investigation. Okay. How about a really advanced tactic? By jumping back and forth like a person on multiple different substances of abuse, we can displace our camera from where we are in the game. I'm not entirely sure what you have to do to move it in different directions, be it to the side, up, or down, but it can allow for our camera to get into the apartment without actually being in the apartment. Unfortunately, the most I am able to do with this is turn off the lights in the apartment. Reading a Steam forum post, it said that there should be bullet holes indicative of where the shots came from, but I don't see anything at all. Taking a look from under the floorboards equally does not yield any new information, other than that I am probably going to struggle to fix the camera. Going back to the black market, and the people that run it are finally there. Ignore the fact that I failed to type the word olive dozens of times because I can't differentiate an E from an A. Getting into the store, we check the ledger and see that no one has bought anything rifle-related, except for someone that lives in a completely unrelated part of the city. So the question obviously becomes, how do we find out where the culprit is? The same way my previous run I recorded that I chose not to make a video ended. A random person essentially telling me where they are. Yeah, I'm not entirely proud of this since it's the easy way out, but I have absolutely nothing to work off of otherwise. So we get the address of 501 Silva Towers, pay our way inside, and see a very curious rifle pointed at the apartment building that the murders occurred in with used cartridges on the floor. Checking the prints, we are able to match it up to one Matevi Zazbo. All we need to do now is arrest the man. I accuse you of murder. Ow! Okay, so it turns out accusing the person of committing numerous murders of being a murderer while they are in arm's reach of the weapon they used to kill numerous people will result in you getting shot. So how do we arrest them then? Well, I have one more trick up my sleeve. I like to call it blunt force trauma. With this, we can take the fingerprint of the culprit to match it to the rifle used. We sadly can't search the person since that action is in red and probably illegal, like kicking down doors. It does take a bit too long to get the handcuffs on, so I have to concuss the culprit once again, but in the end, I can get it done. With that, we make it back to the city hall and review our case. Our killer is Matvey Sabo. We have arrested them. The evidence that places the killer at the crime scene is the expended rifle cartridge because it was used in the killings. The killer lives at 501 Silva Towers, and the murder weapon is the Hamilton rifle that was positioned at the window the killer shot from. I'd like to thank you all for watching, and sorry that this case didn't have the best of endings, but hey, at least we were able to get everything done in the... Why did I do this again?